So, if a company goes out of business, people who own stock in that company will lose money. But remember, companies also employ workers, and they are affected as well because they will lose their jobs. When we think about workers and jobs, we need to look at a different kind of market, the labor market. Labor in this case is just another word for workers. In the labor market, the sellers are the workers. They are selling their time and energy by doing a job. The buyers of labor are the companies that hire them. They are paying the workers for their labor. When the stock market crashed, many of these companies went out of business. Their employees were laid off, and they had to search for other jobs. But the companies that survived were still struggling and could not afford to hire them. In fact, most of these companies laid off more of their workers in order to cut costs. This meant that a huge number of people were unemployed. The result was known as the Great Depression. People looked for work, but no jobs were available. These were desperately hard times for many Americans. But not all Americans experienced the Great Depression equally. As you might guess, white workers were more likely to keep their jobs than black workers. About one-third of white workers were unemployed by 1931, but more than half of black workers had been laid off. You might ask why there was such obvious racial inequality in unemployment during the Great Depression. As is so often the case, the answer lies in institutional systemic racism, or the pattern of white privilege in American society. As unemployment rose, white workers' groups protested companies that hired black workers instead of whites. Politicians also demanded that companies lay off black workers in order to get whites back to work. Some organizations provided relief to struggling Americans, often opening soup kitchens to feed those in need. But these efforts frequently privileged whites as well, and it was difficult for struggling black workers to qualify for aid.